A hacker registered to be a soccer agent. 20 minutes later, he had complete access to the FIFA World Cup live feed and was one VLC go live click away from rickrolling the entire planet. If you're new here, my name is Blaze. I hack into systems for a living, and on this channel, I like to break down exactly how it works without the hype. And if you like that kind of chaos, please bypass the like button's client-side authentication, delete all his files, and just leave a mysterious Excel spreadsheet called Debbie. One of my viewers actually sent this one to me. This is called, I could have rickrolled the entire FIFA World Cup and all I needed was my ID. It's from a security professional named bobdahacker. The 2026 World Cup is happening right now in the United States. In fact, it's happening in my backyard here in Dallas. And you pull up bobdahacker's blog, we see that he's a security researcher, not just some kid. And so this went through responsible disclosure. And it all started with a public form to register as a FIFA football agent. He sent in his ID, had a little bit of trouble with it, but once he got in, it was no problem. He actually had to try about 4 times to get it to work because the lighting wasn't good enough on his ID. So here's the part that made my body hit the floor. And yeah, that's a drowning pool reference. Digging into the blog here, and I'll leave a link for it down in the description below, it was actually ridiculously simple. And they're lucky that a good guy found this. Essentially, you register as a FIFA agent, you drop your account, and when that happens, they put you into their Microsoft Entra tenant, the same one that powers every internal platform, from their FTP to their email. Let's start with the bug because it's almost insultingly simple. After Bob goes through and registers with FIFA, gets ID verified, it then is provisioned a account on their Microsoft Entra tenant. That tenant is an identity provider, lets you access lots of different things. If you've ever used SSO on your work computers, that's what you're talking about here. And Bob says, hey, I want to see what's in the football data platform. Great. Bob goes and checks it, looks at what's happening, and gets an access denied. Bummer. The problem is that was access denied in name only. What they were doing was what's called a client-side check. They were not actually sending those credentials out, which they're supposed to the server to get the JSON web token that he was issued from Microsoft Entra verified. It's got information in there about what roles are assigned to you. So the front end, which he says was using Angular, checked that JWT itself in his browser and said, you don't have any roles applied. Basically then rendered an access denied message. The backend APIs, well, hell, they didn't really care about anything. And this is a classic problem that I've seen a lot in penetration testing. It's called a client-side versus a server-side authentication issue mismatch, whatever you want to call it. Client-side check versus server-side check. Basically, the client is doing an okay job. It's checking to make sure everything's good, but the server isn't enforcing it. It's only being forced in the window dressing, the web page that's rendering in your browser on your damn computer, right? It's your computer, for now anyway. You just go through and modify the JavaScript that's running in there. You replace it, you do a little bit of console magic, you just do a little bit of F12 action, bring up the dev tools, you're golden. So one client-side bypass later, bam, he's got full access to the portal. Which, if it wasn't a security bypass, it's more like a friendly suggestion from a Walmart greeter. He sees the entire panel. He's got detailed level insights. He had full access to everything though. This was not a dev environment. This was the live production streaming panel for the World Cup. And it had every RTMP ingestion URL and stream key. The stream key was actually embedded as part of the URL. So, for example, this is the same thing I use whenever I'm streaming over to Twitch and YouTube. I get an RTMP endpoint, I get a stream key, I configure those in OBS, push go live, the signal comes up. Everybody rejoices because we have a lot of fun doing shenanigans. Now, to verify that this was actually live, he goes and pulls one of the URLs and loads it up in VLC. Yeah, VLC can do that. What can't VLC do? And sees that, yes, this is actually the live feed from one of the cameras, not from a broadcaster. This is coming directly from the stadium. That's pretty awesome. So then he says, by the way, could have stopped the streams if you wanted to. He had full write access. This wasn't even just read access. He couldn't just view it. He had actual control over the panel. Did you want to stop inputs? Bob did not stop inputs, but that would have been kind of funny. Hey, why'd the camera go offline? Then Bob considers the nuclear option, which personally I wish would have happened. But if you think about the data flow of what's happening here, the cameras were sending their RTMP ingest. That went to MediaKind, that goes to the broadcast partners, ultimately then to your TV. And there were estimated 6 billion total viewers watched it. chances are pretty good it was on your TV, at least at some point. So if an attacker went and pushed anything they wanted to those RTMP streams, they could have played any video. This could have been the world's greatest Rickroll. There will never be another Rickroll opportunity like this ever. I'm a little sad Bob didn't do it, but I understand taking the responsible approach. It would have been funny to see. But there's actually more to it than that. That stream role wasn't the only thing exposed. That no roles account had access to the entire platform just by disabling that client-side check in the web browser. Competitions, matches, tools, exchanges, analysis dashboards, commentary, he had full access to the whole thing. Now imagine what he could have done with Polymarket here. Imagine that all of a sudden a score for a game gets finalized and maybe accidentally there's a little bit of typo. You go to hit a 3, there's a 6, bam, cash out in Polymarket before the typo gets fixed. Now Bob did not do any of these things. Bob's an upstanding person, but he could have. Hell, there's been stories about people going and holding blowtorches up to weather systems near airports to artificially raise the temperature so they can win at Polymarket. It's kind of crazy. Bob even notes that from these systems here, they could have updated the live stats we just talked about there, modified editorial comment notes post to a broadcast, adjust the official kickoff times, send tactical lineup data, or even change the scores in the statistics. The commentator information system was also accessible with his same no roles account, and this is a real-time dashboard that the broadcasters and commentators use during live matches. There was also an exposed developer environment. Bob found an Azure Function app that was exposed in here, and it returned a bunch of metadata about their Azure Blob storage. Basically, think of it, it's Azure's equivalent to an AWS S3 bucket. It's a big chunk of data that you can use to put things in on the internet. That's what it is. It's a bucket for data. But this had several URLs for downloading data directly, and one mysterious Debbie Excel sheet in here. But amongst all those files that he found, there's transfer reports, revenue comparisons, board level representation data, referee and coach statistics, and whatever that Debbie Excel file was. All accessible. Then came the absolute hardest part here, the nightmare of reporting it. So Bob finds himself, I'm looking at this, these are active streams, anybody else that actually happens to find this bug could actually wreak some real havoc. So let's go through the attempts timeline. Let's see. Attempt number 1, fired off a full disclosure email to every FIFA email address that Bob could find or guess. Data protection, legal, everything, some employees. 5 of them got bounced, everything else just disappeared into the void with no response. Attempt number 2, Bob goes through an OSINT and finds head of football and technology data at FIFA, Sebastian Runge? Sebastian here. Anyway, Sebastian's been at FIFA for 14 years and on LinkedIn with his phone number listed. So he tries to connect with him on WhatsApp. No response. I don't blame Sebastian here. If I had some rando come and hit me up on WhatsApp, I'd be like, first off, how did you install WhatsApp on my phone? Attempt number 3, tries to call the FIFA HQ, but it was closed because it was Sunday evening in Zurich. Tried to call the FIFA media line, also closed. Tried to call the International Broadcast Center at the K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center in Dallas. Left a voicemail for them. That's about it. Nothing. He left them a voicemail, didn't get anything back. Then tries reaching out to MediaKind. This is attempt number 6. Called MediaKind's number, got to somebody. They understood the issue, and they asked for detailed information with all the stream keys as proof. Cool. Bob sends it over. Attempt number 7 was actually contacting the host broadcasting service. They said they didn't have anyone who could help and just hung up on him. Then tries calling Infront Sports and Media. Finally, at attempt number 9, actually calls CISA. That's the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, the guys that send out all the scary cyber alerts we see all the time. They're actually very important work. I like to tease them every now and then. But that's the federal leading agency in charge of security around the FIFA World Cup, at least around the cyber aspects of it. They also cover the broadcasting system for them. Called their 24/7 operations center, and they picked up and listened, then asked for the emails, which he sent. So after getting a response from MediaKind, and also getting a response from CISA, Bob's giving a little bit of eccentricity vibes, but you know what? Good on them for the attempt. So Bob had an existing contact at the FBI from previous cybersecurity work. I knew it. Bob the Builder was a Fed. I knew it. Anyway, Bob goes and messages them on Signal. They responded, said they had contacts and needed a package for it right away. He packages all the information and sends it. So sometime between Bob's report and the next morning that vulnerability was patched, the no roles account started getting errors, proper 403 messages saying, hey, you're not allowed. Good. Awesome on them. However, FIFA also never responded. They never acknowledged the report, never said thank you, and didn't discuss anything about compensation. I was like, seriously? You're probably the biggest sporting organization in the world, and you don't have any kind of a bug bounty program? And when a researcher has to call CISA and the FBI to reach you, you've got a problem with your reporting system, or lack of one. And then finally he said, start a bug bounty program. And personally, I would like to see FIFA do this just because I want to see them get spammed with AI slop messages in their vulnerability program like everybody else. I think it would just be a little bit extra funny. Yeah, so that's the story of how one industrious hacker pretty much almost rickrolled the entire planet. I wish they had done it, but I also applaud them for not doing it. So please let me know down in the comments what was the worst client-side auth bug you've ever seen. Drop it down there below. I love reading about those. It's really funny to see well-meaning developers accidentally kind of shoot themselves in the foot, especially when it's such a basic security issue like this that you wouldn't expect it from the largest sporting organization on the entire planet. That's all I got for you today. Luckily, the good guys won on this one. Bob went through a lot of effort to make sure the good guys came out on top, as well as going all the way up to the feds. It's a bit extreme, but good on them. So take care, everyone. I'll catch you next time. Peace.